welcome back to English Otherwise. My name is Mr. James. I just wanted to say, first of all, Ramadan Mubarak to all my fans and viewers in Turkey, and for any other Muslim viewers out there, happy Ramadan. And so this is the show where we break down the news, helping you expand your English vocabulary. And so without further ado, let's just jump over to Cameron. Good morning, mushrooms! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to all my brothers and sisters, mothers and misters, and all my cousins, it's time to plug in and take a look at the news. Let's roll. So far, from the start up till now, India appears to have avoided. So connecting it to the present so far, from the start of something up to the present, so appears to have avoided the worst of. Now, worst is a superlative, and if something is a superlative, the biggest, the baddest, the most wonderful, we needed the. Experts warn against something, but what are they warning against? Our highlighted word here, complacency. Dear God, Mr. James, what does that mean? Complacency means to be complacent. Does that help you? Probably not. It means to be satisfied with yourself. You could say self-satisfied. And so because you're happy with yourself, you don't feel the need to change or do things or adapt to the reality in the world. Often we can see examples of people, when they're being complacent, they fail to adapt to change. The former film giant in the camera industry, Kodak, they were number one, their market share was enormous, and they just failed. They were being complacent. They failed to adapt to the advent of digital photography and basically were overtaken. Another example of complacency and therefore a failure to act was Nokia. They were the king, undisputed king of the smartphones. Their market share was ridiculously enormous all over the world. I mean, hey, I was the proud owner of quite a few brick phones, but then with the introduction of the iPhone and therefore the smartphone and touch screens, they were complacent, and so they were behind everybody else, and once again, Nokia was overtaken by other players in the industry. We need to keep moving forward and making progress. Yes, warn against complacency. They've done a good job, but be careful, things could turn around really quickly and go the other way. Curfew. Curfew. Now the police were on curfew patrol. They're on patrol. But if a place is under curfew, that's an official rule or law that states that people need to be home by or after a certain time. You better be home by 10 o'clock or I will rip your lips off, or something like that. And I had to deal with a bunch of issues this morning. Look up the word coprophagia and you'll understand what we're going through with our puppy right now. We use the passive in this case because the effect is more important than who is actually doing it. And so that's why you end up with things, I was shocked, I was stunned. Those are in a way adjectives, but also derived from the passive because the effect is more important than what caused it. Remember, we've had it before, a glimpse just means a short, quick look of something where often you don't see the whole picture. For example, those previews that you might see in the cinema give you a glimpse of upcoming attractions, upcoming films. To mess with something. Now, there's a couple different phrasal verbs involving mess. And of course, there's some sort of overlap, and often they have some commonalities between them. However, if you change the preposition or add one here or there, it can change the nuance. That little bit of flavor and difference in meaning. And so, to mess with something or someone means to cause confusion. Then it functions well, and we're able to use it or understand it. And so this pandemic is creating confusion in our mind with the concept of time. Now, another common phrasal verb is to mess up something or mess something up. In that case, it means to make a mistake, to make an error, to do something wrong. And so to mess up and to mess with are two different things. The days are just flying by, and because you're not really going anywhere, you're just going through the motions, doing more or less the same thing every day. One day, the weekend feels the same as weekdays, more or less, and time is just melting like that Dali painting. This is not a clinic for mayonnaise. Suffix less without whatever comes before it. And so without a mass. Other words with less: hopeless, homeless, helpless, doubtless, fearless, and the list is nearly endless. Ooh, see what I did there? Well, I guess we all have our priorities. A space rock will fly by Earth on Wednesday. Nothing mind-blowing here. However, often by just means past. All right, so by can mean past, often in conjunction with verbs. Typically not a place you want to be. 3 letters. Do you know those 3 letters? That's UPS. It stands for United Parcel Service. A parcel is a package. I'm wearing trousers. I'm not going to make that mistake. So, but yes, inadvertently basically just means accidentally. Spat is the past tense of spit. Now, which I'm not going to do because then I'd have to clean it up. However, in this case, it's being used as a noun and it means an argument. Because if 2 parties are yelling at each other, inadvertently, little bits of spit fly out of your mouth, and I think that's probably where that comes from. But again, I might just be making up etymology. Who knows? And so it's not actually written into the contract or something, but it's just one of those things that you just don't do. But it's just one of those things, you know, everybody understands that this is how something is done, and you don't break that unwritten rule. Some people would say that rules are made to be broken. I welcome your thoughts in the comments. Yeah, they found more mummies. Cool. The idea, when we put some sort of time, energy, and effort, and maybe even money into something, but then we get back some benefit from that, that's when it, for example, her risks, paid off. You might not always see the reason or the immediate reward to learning English or another language, but ultimately, someday, maybe inadvertently, your efforts will pay off. You will get the benefit from having done that. To position your body in a particular way, often for a painting or a photograph, strike a pose, vogue. And so it means to show something that was previously hidden. What is the difference between solve and resolve? To solve itself means to find a solution to something, to bring the end of some sort of issue or problem. Oftentimes they can be interchanged, but resolve implies a finish, but not necessarily the solution that solve supplies. Getting tied down in my S's there. Rebel. And then the act of rebelling is a rebellion. Actually, that's just for all of you Star Wars fans out there. That's where my mind started spinning to. With practice comes improvement. I am attractive. My smell is alluring. Sorry about that. The history of red lipstick, and I know for a fact this article is about the history of lipstick in North Korea. And so is it empowering women? Is it attractive? Or is it contributing to the downfall of society? Sorry I didn't do a better job with degenerate there. Thanks for the question, Bert. Yeah, to admit, to say that something is true, often against your will, to do it reluctantly, you don't want to. Nightmares are always bad. Those are the monsters. Think of Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. Over or about, often the news uses over instead of about, I think because it sounds a bit more formal. But to sue somebody is to file a legal complaint in the court system, usually then seeking reparations for damages. Just remember, anybody can sue anybody. It's just actually the word for the legal filing of the documents and creating the legal proceedings. Whether or not they be successful, that's a different story. To stress something just means to emphasize. in this case. And so basically in this case, he's really saying something emphatically with emphasis. He's pleading, yeah, trying to recycle previous vocabulary. Or wishes. That's like when you have your birthday cake and there's the candles and they say make a wish. You blow out the candles, hopefully, and you can't tell anybody what your dream was because otherwise your dream won't come true. I just love that this word found its way into the headlines, and Jeopardy contestants, oops. And here it just means mistake. It must be in reference to up above where he broke an unwritten rule, but oops is what we say when we make a mistake. And here it's being used as a noun, meaning his mistake. His thoughtless mistake, he inadvertently did something, breaking those unwritten rules. Oh, look at that, man, just recycling vocabulary from today, earlier up above, and days prior. But yeah, oops. Next up, Tracy Morgan, honors and nurse. And so that's just some action that you perform to show thanks, to show gratitude, to show appreciation for somebody else. And so often we talk about honor as like an abstract noun, but also, yes, it is also a verb, because it is Ramadan time right now. And maybe you aren't necessarily a very devout or practicing Muslim. However, you might observe the rule of fasting to honor the traditions of your culture. Here you have production, here you have the consumers. Often the theaters or the cinema are in between production and customers, and instead of going first to the theaters and then eventually to TV and to consumers, it's just jumping right over the top and going DTC, direct to consumer. Never have I ever, dangerous game, Avert. However, I believe that this is a TV show or a film. A fresh take on something just means it is a new sort of approach, a new way of doing things. And so here you could even say that now I've got it so my arrow is fixed, but my headlines scroll, and so I'm using a new format, and this is a fresh take on how to present the news. For the two of you who are commenting, to anybody else out there who is watching, please do jump in the comments, let us know. Feel free to ask questions, don't be embarrassed. Jump in, let us know. And other than that, I wish you all a happy Wednesday. All right, everybody, for English Otherwise, that was breaking down the news. Thanks to everybody on YouTube and Twitch, hitting the likes and subscribes. And please, as always, everybody, it really helps a lot with the new channel. Pass it on and recommend it to a friend. Much love, and see you tomorrow morning.